Why haven't you put out any content? You have 10k subscribers. 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 It is time.
Where am I?
Hello friends! It's been a long time since I published a video. Unfortunately, I had a lot to deal with, including sorting out some private matters. Now I'm back, and after a long break it feels almost surreal to be back in my workshop creating something creative. Do you know the feeling? You want to shoot some arrows at the forces of evil, but you just don't know what to do with those pointy things? I constantly have this problem. That's why I thought I'm making a quiver so I can have my hands free while shooting. For this, I first took a large piece of leather, cut it and embossed a pattern that I had to come up with a few years ago. To emboss the leather, it had to be wetted with water to make it easier to work with. There are various methods to attach the quiver to the body. One is a side attachment, which was very common in medieval Europe, or simply carrying the arrows on the back. As a big Lord of the Rings fan, I naturally want my quiver to perfectly match the bow, and because it simply looks better and cooler, it had to be similar to Legolas' back quiver. By the way, Legolas is pretty much my absolute favorite character in the Lord of the Rings films. Weta Workshop has designed several sets of quivers and bows, specifically for Legolas, which I used as a reference. However, researching attachment proved much more difficult than expected, as there was hardly any good imagery available online. But a small site that helped me was lacatscratch.com and Pinterest, where many great references are compiled, even if the former is not up to date. Understanding how the strapping was constructed that Orlando wore in the films raised quite a few questions in my mind. I mainly based it on the quiver that Legolas carried after leaving Lorien, because it's seen more often in the films. During my research, I noticed that he sometimes carried the quiver on his left side and then on his right side. Also, the quiver had to be designed so that it could be worn on either side. But how did they achieve this, and why did he wear it one way and then another? So I watched all of the film scenes with Orlando as Legolas and his quiver, and I noticed that he mainly wore it this way in the Two Towers. Why was that? Why weren't the makers consistent? Was the quiver somehow magical? Or was it just a movie mistake? From here, one could have stopped the research, as it was really no longer important or related to my understanding of how the quiver was built. But my mind just wouldn't be let me rest.
You have to find it out, Marcus.
Do we have to?
Yes, we must.
But it's not that important.
We have to find out.
So my first theory was that perhaps the bow bothered him while riding. So he switched sides and carried it on the other side. But then I saw so many scenes where this suddenly wasn't the case anymore. And in the later films it didn't happen at all. I thought about this for a long time. Far too long. And the only really logical explanation would be that Orlando fell off the horse during the filming of the Two Towers and broke his ribs. These must caused him in pain while carrying the quiver. So he wore it on the side and then on the other to continue filming. I need answers to this. Maybe one of you knows more and will write it in the comments. As a whole concept, Legolas' quiver works very well. But there are a few adjustments that the costume department at Weta allowed themselves, which I would like to address again. The straps should actually cinch Legolas' coat, and they should normally be clearly visible. However, extra small holes were cut into the coat so that it simply looks better and blows nicely in the wind. Additionally, Legolas' equipment also includes 2 knives he uses in combat. Along with the bow, he can thus carry his entire gear with him. In the scene when the heroes had to hand over their weapons in Edoras, it makes less sense that he draws the knives and fancies around with them. He could have just handed over the entire gear, but no. Peter Jackson probably thought, well, Orlando, you have to show the gods in Edoras that you are the fancy-schmancy Prince of Mirkwood. Show them how dangerous you are as Legolas and how nicely designed the knives from Weta Workshop are. But enough of movie trivia. For attaching the straps, I created a small leaf design in Blender because I am the Blendersmith. Quiver, I used these models to create sand molds and cast the parts in bronze. I probably need to practice bronze casting a bit more. I have to make a few more attempts for it to succeed. Then I filed and polished the parts. I just like the silver look, so I silver plated the buckle in the silver plating bath. I cut the straps out of leather myself, since the existing stamps were not satisfactory. I printed a 3D model for a new stamp to create a clean, continuous pattern. Before we continue with the quiver, of course additionally thieves are needed for my elven knives. I really liked the concept that you can attach the knives additionally to the quiver, because I always had the problem of carrying them with me when I wanted to fight the forces of evil. For attaching all parts, I devised the concept of carrier frame where everything can be tied down individually. To connect the quiver to the frame, I printed something again, cast it, sanded and silver plated it. The small holes are there to sew it onto the quiver. I found this idea to be the best. It could have also been riveted, but I found the method not elegant. That's it for the overall concept of my quiver. Please let me know if you like it, and until next time.
Mr. Blendersmith